Kevin Mitnick, a reformed super hacker, was once one of the FBI's most wanted cybercriminals. Kevin David Mitnick entered the world in the swinging 1960s. More precisely, he was born on August 6, 1963, in the One Nice area of California. His mother and father divorced when he was still a baby. His mother, Shelley, had to work long hours to make ends meet, so Kevin spent most of his time alone. He filled his loneliness by exploring the streets of Los Angeles. Kevin was an extremely curious child. But more importantly, his interest in technology and communication devices had already begun to blossom at a very young age. During his early teenage years, he took up amateur radio. He even listened to police radio frequencies, trying to make sense of the world around him. The foundation of what would later be called social engineering was probably laid during these curious childhood explorations. At just 12 years old, Kevin came up with the idea for his very first hack. He noticed that bus drivers punched holes in tickets to validate them. A plan immediately formed in young Kevin's mind. If he could get one of those hole punch devices and gather enough unused bus tickets, he could ride anywhere in the city for free. His method to obtain the puncher was simple. Acting like an innocent, sweet child, he asked a bus driver where he could buy one. For a school project. The driver wasn't suspicious and told him where it was sold. Kevin used the same trick at the store and got his own puncher. After observing drivers for a while, he discovered that at the end of their shift, many threw piles of unused transfer tickets into a trash bin near the bus depot. He collected the blank tickets, punched them, and essentially created unlimited free passes. At age 12, he fooled the system, and for months, he traveled all over Los Angeles for free until he was caught. But his battle with the system was only just beginning. As he entered high school, his desire to push the limits of technology grew even stronger. He continued with amateur radio, but now he also began investigating the mysteries of the telephone system. For fun, he occasionally tuned into the frequency used by drive-through intercom systems and messed with customers by taking their orders himself. He wasn't doing it for money, only for amusement. He later befriended an older teen who was a phone freak, telephone hacker, and learned how to make long-distance calls for free. But Kevin would soon exceed even what his friend believed possible. He naturally possessed the art of manipulating people, what would eventually be known as social engineering. By age 17, Kevin could convince telephone company employees, over the phone or in person, to believe almost anything. He memorized their jargon, internal codes, and procedures so well that he sounded like he actually worked there. For example, he once called the company's confidential number bureau, where VIP numbers were stored, and introduced himself as Jake Roberts, claiming, "My extension changed. Did you receive my new number?" From this, he extracted the clerk's own extension. Then he called a mid-level manager in the same company and said, "We're updating the personnel list. Should your extension remain the same?" The manager replied, "Mine is 354. Keep it." Kevin now had the manager's name and extension. Finally, using the information he collected, he temporarily forwarded the manager's line to his own. So when the confidential number bureau called the manager to confirm anything, the call went directly to Kevin, and he either approved or rejected the requests as he pleased. He had recorded the company's hold music on tape, and whenever he said, "One moment please," he played the music so convincingly that even employees believed he was legitimate. He even gained access to the private phone numbers of celebrities who had requested unlisted lines. But beyond all of this, Kevin's true superpower was not his technical skill. It was his understanding of human psychology. Eventually, however, his adventures moved beyond phone calls. His serious encounter with computer technology began around this time. At age 16 to 17, a friend gave him the dial-in number for a central computer system at USC's Information Sciences Institute. This system, nicknamed the ARC, was used by DEC, Digital Equipment Corporation engineers to develop software remotely. Curious and bold, Kevin connected to the ARC from a landline telephone and managed to copy an important DEC operating system software. He had first called the company pretending to be an employee who had lost login info, then convinced them to create a new account. After that, He tricked another employee into giving that account elevated privileges and sent DEC's confidential software to the account he controlled. All he had left to do was go physically retrieve the diskette. And remember, he did all of this in the 1970s as a teenager, with nothing but a landline phone. This was terrifying for the future. A minor had just penetrated a major corporation's systems. Eventually, jealous friends reported him. Because he hadn't damaged anything or used the stolen files, he received only a mild warning, but this was his first time getting caught. Still, he didn't stop. In the early 1980s, Kevin began making a name for himself in the underground hacking world. He wasn't motivated by money, just curiosity and the thrill of overcoming challenges. Sometimes he copied corporate software. Sometimes he manipulated phone switches for free calls. Sometimes he hacked into systems simply to see if he could disappear without a trace. His main weapon remained his social engineering abilities. Instead of cracking passwords, he preferred to trick people into giving them to him. By the mid-80s, Kevin had escalated. He and two friends broke into Pacific Bell's office to steal technical documents. Days earlier, he had tricked the building's security guard by pretending to be an employee and getting permission to enter at night. They accessed documents containing codes for telephone network centers. Although they were not caught that night, the company was powerful and persistent. Kevin soon noticed he was being tailed, but it didn't help. The FBI raided his home shortly after. He was charged with stealing Pacific Bell documents and, because he was a minor, was sentenced to several months in a youth detention center. He became one of the youngest people ever convicted of a computer crime. But once released, he had no intention of stopping. He hacked a critical NORAD military system. Not to steal anything, but simply to prove he could. He also attempted to breach the Pentagon via ARPANET, the early form of the internet. For him, it was all a game. Fear simply didn't exist. But in 1988, his luck ran out. He and a friend had hacked into two major corporations the previous year. That friend reported him to the FBI. At age 25, Kevin faced charges for nearly every digital crime he had ever committed. He pled guilty and received 1 year in prison plus 3 years of supervised release. Upon his release in 1989, he was banned from using computers and telecommunication systems. But Kevin was Kevin. He behaved only for about 2 years. In 1992, with only a short time left on his probation, he relapsed. He hacked Pacific Bell again, this time breaking into their voicemail system. He claimed it was just curiosity, but it didn't matter. He was caught once more. This time, however, he refused to surrender. He fled, beginning the most legendary chase in hacking history. Kevin vanished. He became the first computer hacker ever placed on the FBI's most wanted list. He changed cities frequently, lived under fake identities, and tried to leave no digital trace. He kept a low profile, exercised, lost weight, changed his appearance, and tried to look nothing like the old photos in newspapers. Meanwhile, the FBI monitored phone calls and used every technology available to track him. But Kevin wasn't easy prey. In 1993, in Los Angeles, he discovered an FBI operation being prepared to capture him and hacked Pacific Bell again, this time to listen to the FBI agent's phone calls assigned to his case. According to legend, when agents raided one of his hideouts, they found nobody inside, just a donut box labeled FBI bait. Kevin continued taunting them. Yet he wasn't only running, he was also hacking some of the world's largest corporations. He obtained the source code for Motorola's newest phone, the Ultralight, by impersonating an engineer and tricking a staff member into mailing the code to him. He infiltrated Novell, Fujitsu, and Sun Microsystems, stealing valuable software and wiping his tracks afterward. He never sold any of the files. He just wanted the thrill of knowing he could do it. During this period, he even accessed more than 20,000 credit card numbers, yet didn't use a single one. One of his classic tactics was giving people incorrect information so they would correct him with the real data. For example, he once called the police department pretending to be from the motor vehicles office and asked, "Is your code 36472? The officer said, "No, ours is 62883, exposing the correct code. But eventually, the circle began closing. His next hiding place was Raleigh, North Carolina, where he rented an apartment under a fake ID. He lived quietly during the day and hacked at night. He used cloned cell phones to avoid detection. Still, digital footprints are hard to erase. Kevin eventually targeted the wrong person. Famous cybersecurity expert Tsutomu Shimomura. Shimomura was a Japanese-American scientist and one of the top security consultants for the US government. Kevin wanted a special software tool rumored to be in Shimomura's possession, a tool that allowed remote control of cellular phones. On December 25, 1994, with help from an Israeli hacker, Kevin broke into Shimomura's home computer and stole the files. He was thrilled. He believed he had outsmarted one of the world's top security experts. But Shimomura had anticipated Kevin a year earlier and had installed monitoring tools on his system. The moment he returned home and saw what happened, he knew Kevin was responsible. He contacted the FBI, and together they tracked Kevin's online activity live in real time. They intercepted his chats with the Israeli hacker, observed his credit card thefts, and traced his intrusions into major corporations. The final trap was set. On the night of February 13, 1995, Shimomura and the FBI located Kevin's apartment using signal triangulation.
FBI, open up! They stormed in.
Kevin was inside, hiding on the floor. The world's most legendary hacker had reached the end of the road. At his hearing, Kevin saw Shimomura in the courtroom, looking at him with triumph. Prosecutors portrayed Kevin as extremely dangerous. They claimed he could launch nuclear missiles simply by whistling into a phone. A ridiculous exaggeration, but one the court took seriously. Because nobody knew what he was truly capable of, he was treated with extreme caution. Before trial, he spent 8 months in solitary confinement. Authorities feared he could communicate with other inmates and cause chaos. Outside prison, hackers worldwide, along with Kevin's supporters, defaced major corporate websites with free Kevin messages. But it didn't change anything. In 1999, Kevin was found guilty of 14 counts of wire fraud and other computer crimes. He received 46 months for the new crimes and 22 months for violating probation, a total of about 6 years. But since he had been in custody since 1995, much of it was already served. After completing his 5th year in February, he was released, with a condition that for 3 years, he was not allowed to use any technological device. During this period, Kevin tried to live quietly. The years of running, prison, and isolation had left their mark. The once wild cyber rebel was now a man nearing his 40s. Eventually, the restrictions expired. With a computer gifted by Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, Kevin founded a security company and began working legally, helping corporations prevent the very kinds of attacks he had once carried out.
Software vulnerabilities can be patched, but you can't patch human stupidity.
He emphasized that the weakest link in every system wasn't the computers. It was the employees. He later consulted for the government, even working with the FBI. He wrote books, became a public speaker, and became a legend in cybersecurity. But in 2022, Kevin was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He fought for a year and a half, and in July 2023, he passed away at age 59. His wife was pregnant with their first child when he died. The man who became the world's greatest hacker never got to become a father. From punching bus tickets as a boy to infiltrating the world's largest corporate networks, Kevin's extraordinary journey had finally come to an end.